Good evening, everyone. I am Tina Hawkes, Public Relations Manager at RTD. And okay, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tina Hawkes. I'm the Public Relations Manager at RTD. Thank you all for joining us for our service change meeting for proposed September service changes. Wanted to go over a few housekeeping items as we get started here. We ask that you hold all your comments till the end. We also ask that you keep your electronic devices muted. On your phones, you press *6 to mute and unmute. Online, click the microphone icon, which is across the top bar, and you can see that in this presentation. To use live captions, click More Options, turn on live captions, and it's only available on the desktop and mobile devices. Also want to let you know we are recording this meeting, so it'll be available for others to view if they would like. So we wanted you to know that. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Christina Zazweta, who will kick this off.
Thanks, Tina. Hi, everybody. My name is Christina Zazweta. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with RTD, and together with Tegan Rice, our Senior Service Planner and Scheduler, we are going to present the proposed changes for September 2021. So as part of our process, we go out to the communities 3 times per year, and we present proposed changes and we take comment, including comment from you, and we roll that into a report that goes to our board members. And that goes to our board members before they approve the service changes. So your comments are important to us, and we'll go through a bit of information on how you can make sure your information and comments are included into that report. I believe we have a board member online with us here. We have Director Shelley Cook, and I believe we probably will have a few more joining us throughout this meeting. So your comments will also go to those who are listening as far as our board is concerned and online. Before we get into the service change component, I'm going to go through some updates that we have here at RTD that are also having to do with just overall services. The main thing and the biggest news that we've had recently, just about 2 weeks ago, we lifted the capacity limits on our buses and trains. If you recall, throughout the pandemic, we did have limits on our capacity so that we could encourage social distancing and for the safety and health of our passengers and our operators. So we've just lifted those capacity limits so we can have our full and regular capacities. This allows us to run service very similarly to how we were before when it comes to being able to fill our buses and trains. And if you were riding in the most recent weeks before we lifted that, what you would have seen is buses, if they were full, they would have noted that they were full, and we would have to have a supplemental service in between in order to be able to run a good amount of service and still be able to provide that restriction. But we are now back to our regular limits on capacity. So that is good news. Also, I wanted to mention that last week we did host 2 meetings, and it was called a Welcome Back to RTD, a conversation about safety. Those were 2 virtual meetings that we held on Thursday and Friday last week. And this was a conversation and discussion with key leaders in our safety and our operations divisions to talk about the safety and cleaning protocols and also the customers' roles in keeping transit safe. This was a good exchange of information as well as an opportunity for Q&A that a lot of people are thinking about as they're considering how they're going to return either to the office or events in the public in the downtown area, and how you might want to be able to think about that going forward. There are a lot of protocols that we are doing. Of course, we're always cleaning our vehicles on a daily basis. Our facilities are being cleaned on a daily basis, and we are making sure that we're doing that, continuing that through this year. So these are things that we get a lot of questions about, and we're very similar to what you might see in an airline or even a restaurant. We are going back to getting to full regular business. Those capacities, as I mentioned, are back. And so we are eager to run our services as we were before and have our passengers, our customers, who's you, back with us. So we are looking to put that recorded meeting on our website, and it's not up there yet, but if you are interested and would like to see that, I'd suggest you check later this week on rtd-denver.com for that recording. Also, we did just recently launch a stored value account through our RTD Tickets app. If you don't have the app, it's a good app to have where you can go paperless, or you can even purchase on a mobile app on the fly. And so it's a good alternative to going to our kiosks, or if you're in a rush, you can always have that app ready to buy a ticket. And I know you've probably all seen a time where the train's pulling up and you're trying to get on that train. The app is a time saver, so I do recommend it. The store valued account on the mobile tickets allows you to provide different payment methods. You can deposit funds up front, or you can deposit funds up front and do it through your credit or debit card, and those funds will be sitting there. So when you do want to use them, and say you are in a rush, it is a faster method of going about it. So you have it sitting there and in a digital wallet kind of format, and when you're ready to buy tickets, it's there and ready for you to purchase. So this is just another way of improving the apps and the mobile ticketing process that we do have, and it's something that we're very excited and happy for, because it is going to allow us to work with our customers in a different fashion. Okay, so just wanted, before I go on to the next ones here, just want to mention, if you are just joining us now, please make sure you're on mute, and that way we can all share the information and hear from each other here in just a moment. All right, so we do have a variety of different things going on this time of year. It's a big part of what we do, is providing opportunities for our customers and our communities to give us feedback. So in addition to these studies, or in addition to these service change meetings where we gather your feedback about services, we have opportunities for you to weigh in on a few other things. So this Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., we are hosting a fair study and equity analysis telephone town hall, and that is done over the phone, or you can visit our website, rtd-denver.com/town hall, and there'll be a player there on our website. And this town hall is geared towards talking about the recently launched fair study and equity analysis that we're doing, both parts of that in tandem. And what that means is we're looking at our fares, we're looking at our passes, and we're conducting this study as part of that process. This process as a whole will take about 18 months approximately. And there's a lot of work that's going into that. And that's part of why we're hosting this telephone town hall, is for you to hear about what that process entails, why it's important that we do the equity analysis as we look at our fares going forward, and also to hear specifically from our general manager and CEO, Deborah Johnson, about how this fits into the bigger plan that she has for the agency and why we're doing this now. I will share with you that this is a good opportunity for you not only to hear from Deborah and our staff about the process, but also for you to weigh in about our fares. We'll have a couple polling questions for you to respond to, as well as an opportunity for you to get in the queue and ask your question or make your comment during the call. So I do encourage you to register if you are interested, again, by visiting our website, rtd-denver.com/town hall. If you click on the event and enter your phone number, you will receive a phone call when the event starts. Or if you'd prefer, you can call in at 6 p.m. on Wednesday at 855-543-3425 and be part of the conversation. Another opportunity for you to weigh in is throughout the summer, we have our Reimagine RTD process, in which we're wanting to hear from you about the mobility plan for the future. So if you recall, and you're familiar with the process, we actually launched it in 2019, and we started with a system optimization plan in 2019, in which we asked the public to weigh in about how they felt about the system that we had at the time running. So where could we optimize our system? And so we've taken that information, and part of what came out of the system optimization plan early on is actually reflected in the service changes that we're seeing this year. So that is something we started seeing in January of this year, that came from the Reimagine process. So we understand that, as we go forward, we're going to have to continue shifting, and that's why this next phase that we're going through for the mobility plan for the future is important, because as we come out of the pandemic and as we look over to the next 15 to 20 years, at our service and the growth and the needs of this region, it's important to think about what it is we want to get from our transit system, and your opinions are a good part of that. So you can start by visiting our website, rtd-denver.com/reimagine, and there is a page there that you can click on and provide your input there, and subscribe to our email list so you can be a part of that as we move forward on engagement opportunities and ways for you to provide input throughout the summer. All right, so now we're going to shift a little bit over to the talk about services and service changes. As we went through COVID-19, you undoubtedly have seen, of course, just like every other industry, we were affected, but we are seeing a change in how our services are starting to be used. So that's the good news for us. Since June, this last June service change, we were able to add approximately 4% of our service back in. So as we're seeing more demand, we're adding more service, and you'll see that here in the list. It's reflected in the list of the changes that we have proposed. We also saw an increase in ridership of approximately 6% from the January to April timeframe. And that also is very encouraging for us to see as we move forward. We see things opening up. We are starting to see people demand the services. And it's important for us to hear from you, our community, as we move forward, because we're putting services in, we're making changes to services, and your input is important because we need to know where is it that you are wanting to see that, or where is it that it is more important to you and your daily travel patterns. As I mentioned, we did lift the vehicle capacity limits that were in place since last year, and so we lifted them up just a few weeks ago. And this has allowed us to change the way we're adding service and making adjustments going forward. So we'll see that again in the proposed service changes as we move forward. So as we come back to RTD, there's many things that people are considering, and this is based on just the meeting that I mentioned we had last week when we were talking about safety in our system and what kind of things we're doing to welcome our customers back. So I did mention we are doing daily cleaning and sanitizing of our vehicles and facilities, and we are also working with our customers to be our partners in safety. It is everyone's responsibility to continue to be safe, use sanitizers, and follow the guidelines that we see from the health departments on whether or not it's important to use masks. But it is important for us. I do want to point out that we do have a slight difference in how we're moving forward regarding masks, and we are required to have face coverings or masks until September 13th per federal mandate. So that comes to us from the FTA, who oversees our public transit system. And so we are requiring it on our system, in our meaning that if you're in one of our vehicles, you should be wearing a mask. And that is true for our employees as well. Customers are also encouraged to use the mobile tickets app that I mentioned earlier, because it's a good contactless way to buy your tickets and be able to have them ready for you, and without having to work with the kiosk or handle money if that's something that you're interested in doing, and limiting the amount of things that you're and surfaces that you're touching. Throughout the pandemic, we did see quite a few financial impacts on RTD, and those are going to be something that we see for the next several years, and because of the way the impacts did come in. We were fortunate to receive several rounds of funding, including $232 million of CARES Act funding late last year. And we also have access to $203 million of dollars in funding from an act called the CRISA funding. And that's intended to support our operations, including keeping our staffing. We did have layoffs in early January, and we were able to recall some of those folks because of the funding, and we were able to reinstate their jobs. And we are able to as well rescind the furlough days and some of the cuts that came for our salaried employees because of the funding allowed us to do that. It allowed us to apply it to supplemental service on some of our busier routes, and that was when we had the restrictions on capacity. We needed to add more buses on a route to be able to have those social distancing requirements, and so we applied the funding towards that as well. The most recent round of funding includes the American Rescue Plan Act, and that was $338 million worth of funding. And it's something that we can apply, of course, to our services and all the things that I mentioned, but it could be applied over the next several years. Even with this, we do have to continue to look at our finances, and despite this assistance, there are financial challenges for us. So it's not on this slide, but we do anticipate that the financial challenges that we are seeing are something that we'll see over the next several years. It'll be spread out over several years. And that's why we have to be judicious about the way we're using our funding that we receive from the federal government, and not use it all, say, just at once to bring in our service all at once. But we have to look at it over the span, and it needs to match up very closely to how business is returning and how the use for our services is returning, and where that need is most. And with that, I will call on my colleague Tegan Rice, our Senior Service Planner and Scheduler, to talk about the proposed service changes that we have for September 2021.
Okay, thank you, Christina, and thank you, Donnelly, who has been responding to a bunch of the comments that are already coming in through the comment section. Currently, under the pandemic service plan, we are slowly increasing some of the services due to high demands for ridership on some of those routes, and due to common requests for the service to be reinstated. The routes that are proposed for service improvements are more often used to serve the communities that rely on the travel needs, and operator availability, always continues to be a key factor for us. We still have an operator shortage that is starting to impact us now in consideration of restoration of services. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so for the Route 10, they is proposed to increase weekday rush hour service frequency to 15 minutes between 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. between 9th and Claremont and downtown Denver. The Route 19 is proposed to increase weekday service frequency to every 30 minutes. And running time adjustments are also proposed to help improve on-time performance and reliability of the route. Route 46 will begin 90 minutes earlier than currently is operating, so service will be beginning approximately 6:15 a.m. in each direction. The Route 48 is expanding the weekday service hours from 5 a.m. to 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. with 30-minute frequency all day. The 120 with the inline service plan that was approved was dividing up the service. So they plan to implement the original 120W route, which operates between US 36 and Broomfield to Wagon Road, to operate on the weekdays with the AM and PM rush hour service at 60-minute frequency, but with the service that's already there, it's kind of averages out to a 30-minute frequency, I think. The Route 204 is to implement the previous board-approved weekday schedule with 15-minute frequency for AM and PM rush hours and 30-minute frequency in the midday. The proposed routing will operate between Table Mesa and Broadway and Front Range and Broadway. Route 206 is to implement the 30-minute frequency on weekdays, the AM and PM rush hours between Arapahoe and 55th to Fairview High School. This is to help the students in Boulder to get to and from school. And Route 225 is to restore previous weekday schedule with 15-minute service frequency for AM and PM rush hours and 30-minute frequency in the midday. The skip is going to get restored to the weekday schedule, which had 10-minute frequency for the AM and PM rush hours. This helps serve the regular schools down by Front Range and also the CU. The Dash is proposed to add short-term trips during the weekday AM and PM rush hours, providing an increased frequency between downtown Boulder Station and Manhattan Circle. The Jump is proposed to implement the RTD board-approved weekday schedule that was proposed for the May 2020 service changes, and it's explained a little bit further as we go on. The route LD is to restore weekday service on the LD3 with 60-minute service frequency during the midday between 8th and Kaufman and Park and Ride, and the US 36 and Broomfield Park and Ride. With all of the routes that are being reduced or improvements, it may impact ADA accessorized service and availability. Another reinstatement of service is the 0L. It's intended to reinstate weekday rush hour service between I-25 and Broadway to Civic Center with 15-minute service frequency between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 3:30 to 6 p.m. And the Route 3L is proposed to reinstate rush hour service on the weekdays, mornings and afternoons. So 3 trips going into town and 3 trips out in the evening. The route will operate between Aurora Metro Center and the Civic Center station only. The Route 116X, CV, and EV is proposed to provide 3 trips into downtown and 3 trips out in the evening, 3 trips in the AM and 3 trips in the evening. For the rush hour, a little bit different is that those trips are going to go into the Fed Center, which will help provide service for customers that currently do not have access to the 99L under the current service plan. And restoration of service, the Route 20, they're restoring 3 hourly weekday trips in the AM and PM rush hours between Union Station and NREL. Route 43 is to restore select early morning and late night trips. Route 65 is to restore weekday service with the route extending from the Southmore Station to AllStar and Tufts and the Denver Tech Center, and north of 56th and Central Park, serving the Northfield High School. Route 105 is to restore select early morning and late night trips. And the Route 21 is the same, restoration of a few early morning and late night trips. The Route 130 is to restore 1 southbound trip at 4:46 a.m. The 153 is proposed to restore select early morning and late night trips. And the P is to restore service with 3 trips in the AM peak to Denver and 3 trips outbound in the evening out to Parker. Part of the seasonal changes that we usually do every fall is we extend the NB to Eldora Ski Resort to provide to help with their parking situation. So that will be opening when the ski resort opens. And the E line is, we're going to add an additional trip in the evening outbound, and the N line, it is proposed to make some minor adjustments to help improve on-time performance. With any new rail line, we have to do a few adjustments in order to work out some of the tweaks that happen when the service actually starts up. And I think that's it. Yep. So your comments that are in the chat section will be included in the report to the Board of Directors. Last day to submit comments will be on July 8th. You can either do it to the email address service.changes@rtd.com, or you can call it in to 303-299-2004. We still get faxes. I don't know if anybody still uses a fax machine. And the final adjustments will take effect September 5th, 2021. Okay, and I'm going to hand it over to Tina now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so here's how we're going to take comments. So if you are on the video call, you can raise your hand by, you can see there's a icon with a little smiley face and a hand across the top bar. Or you can put something in the chat function. We've already seen a lot of comments in the chat function for the GS, so we will make note of that. A few others, suggestions, all of that will go into the record and for consideration. If you are on the phone, you can unmute your phone by hitting *6, and I will call the last 4 digits of your phone number and ask you to give your comment or ask a question. And then when we call on you, if you're on the video chat or I'm on the Teams call, when we call on you, don't forget to unmute yourself. I know we all forget to do that sometimes. So I'm going to start. I don't see any hands up, although I just gave instructions, but I will take a look now at the phone. If you have a question. Oh, I do see lots of hands now. Okay, sorry about that. Let's start with Aaron. Aaron.
Hi there, sorry, just getting to a quiet place. Thank you for all the updates. I really appreciate it. And I just want to join several people who I believe are already on the meeting today, just giving support to reinstating the GS line, since there are so many students, staff, faculty at CU, as well as employees of federal labs, both in Lakewood, Golden, and in Boulder, who have this as our only public transportation option to get to work. And even just as people were saying in the chat, I don't know how the chat shows up in the notes that are given to the RTD board, so I'll just repeat it here as well, that even just 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. routes would make a huge difference. Many people live along this corridor who don't have cars and literally don't have another way to get to work and to school without the GS bus. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Karen now.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. I just first wanted to say thank you for having this hearing, because I do feel like RTD has been really receptive and responsive to my comments. I'm also here in support of the GS bus. I just wanted to emphasize that I think a lot of people who work at the Fed Center and at USGS and some of these other organizations don't realize that this bus is not running, and therefore are not going to be able to express concern about it not showing up, because they're going to realize in September when they go back to work that there's no bus. Because a lot of people that I've told were surprised to learn this. And I also feel like this bus could probably use a little more just promotion of its existence. I know that RTD told me that they thought that the ridership was low even before the pandemic, but there's so much traffic on 93 that I think even a billboard in each direction saying, hey, there's a bus, could make a real big difference in increasing demand for that line. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Just real quick, I wanted to note we also have 2 additional directors, Catlin and Deshelle, also have joined us this evening. So I just wanted to acknowledge that they are here. And now I'm going to go to Jacqueline.
Thank you. Thanks for these updates and providing us an opportunity to speak. I've used the GS bus for 12 years, except for during COVID, and I was really surprised to hear that it wasn't there. So I don't have a car to go into work. So this is my only way of going in, and going via Denver is incredibly time consuming. So I would like to do whatever it takes to get this. And so one of my questions in the chat is, what is the metric that you're looking for to decide whether to bring it back in September? Because if we had some information, like you're looking for X, because as another person noted, nobody is riding it now. So you don't see like the bus filling up. So if you could let us know what you're looking for in a timely fashion, how can we respond in time for a September to be included in the September changes? Thanks.
Well, this is Natalie with RTD Service Planning. You're doing exactly what we need. You're giving us the information, and I want to say thank you to all those who did reply in this chat for what potentially would be purposeful trip times. So we will take this into consideration. Yes, we know what the demand was pre-COVID, so we will look at that. We know that the schools and several of the other businesses, bigger agencies are going back to in-office as well. We are still trying to track down specifically as to what those in-office hours would be, if that is everybody in the office Monday through Friday, or if it's a couple days a week, or 30% or whatever. So if anybody has any more information in that regard, that would be of help to us, so we can gauge a little bit better as to what the anticipated demand might be. So, but you're doing exactly what we need, and by all means, encourage others, and you can send in comments via email, via the service.changes@rtd-denver.com as well. We encourage people to do that. So the more we hear from you, the better. So thank you. Thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
All right, thank you. Now I'm going to go to Nicholas.
Yep, thank you. I was speaking on behalf of the 116X. Again, to echo what several of the other guests have said, I don't think a lot of people are aware that that bus has even been temporarily postponed, and a lot of people are going to be returning back to work in September. So it's good to see this proposal. The one question I had was, in the slide, it said that it was going to serve passengers boarding and aligning at the Federal Center station in lieu of Route 99L. The bus never ran. The bus never stopped at that station before. So is that a proposed change in addition to starting it, or is it, or are those people that were riding that 99L going to need to go someplace else to pick up that bus?
Hi, Nicholas. This is Dan Merritt, and I am the acting lead on the West team. So this was what I came up with to try and play a shell game because of our lack of operators. And so I'm bringing the Evergreen, the Conifer, and the Ken Carl Valley Ranch bus all into the Federal Center station, which you are correct, the 116X didn't used to go in there. But if I can bring everyone in at 20-minute intervals, then it says like I'm bringing back 4 routes with really only needing the drivers for 3 routes. So it is going to increase the running time slightly on the 116X, but that bus generally wasn't super packed, and we're expecting it not to be real packed coming back from the pandemic immediately. And so hopefully this is a way to just help out more people around the city.
Okay, great. Thanks for the explanation.
Sure thing. Thank you for your interest.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Stephen now.
Hi, this is Steve here. I have a comment on the J bus that I'll just summarize here. And for me personally, I'm commuting to town more now, and it would greatly help to have the J, because then I wouldn't have to do a transfer when traveling from Gun Barrel into East Boulder. That would save a lot of time. And more generally, for everybody as a whole, as has been discussed, as all the CU students should be coming back in the autumn, coming up here around the time of the September service changes, and a lot of them are big supporters of the J. A big fraction of the riders on the J are CU students and staff. So I think you would see a great demand for the J in the fall. And I think it's a good route to bring back because it's relatively low impact on RTD resources, since it's only a limited route and only really runs during the commuting rush hours in the morning and the evening. So, and in general, the J bus helps commuters that go from Longmont and Gun Barrel to East Boulder. So for all of these reasons and factors I'm mentioning, I think it's worth taking another look at perhaps bringing the J route back for the September service changes.
Hey, Stephen, this is Natalie. Actually, it is a huge impact on our resources because those are what we call trippers, and the AM and PM trippers are actually the most expensive that we can put out there. So by running these specific trips that we then can't interline or hook to other routes and keep out for longer periods of time, it is a huge impact to our operator resources. So for now, we're going to go ahead and look to increase the Bolt frequencies. We will continue to monitor and see what happens on the Bolt. And if we see that on the Bolt, we're starting to have capacity issues, and depending on where people need to go and who's returning back to office and so forth, we will take a look and see what we could potentially do about the J.
Yeah, the J is, as you know, thanks for that, analysis. The J, as you know, is a slightly different route than the Bolt, so it does have a good niche that it serves slightly different areas that are not covered by the Bolt. So that's why I'm specifically mentioning the J here.
Sure, and noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to acknowledge that we have Director Sloan on the call, so thank you for joining us this evening. Want to go to the phone. If anybody who has called in has a question, go ahead and unmute yourself by hitting *6. And as I see you unmute yourself, I will call the last 4 digits of your phone number if you have a question or comment. And right now, I'm not seeing, oh wait, okay. I've got 8292. Go ahead and ask your question.
This is Ann. I have a question regarding the FF4. Is there any consideration for bringing that back?
Thanks for asking. It's Natalie. At this point, no, we're monitoring because the demands on the FF are only about a third of what they were pre-COVID for FF1 and the FF5 combination right now. And you have other options to transfer at downtown Denver, and those are also not at capacity. But again, just as with everything else, we're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to monitor and see as much information as we can get from people as to who's going back to the office and when. And then we'll have to decide what to do depending on where the demand is and the resources that we have at hand. We have to take the entire district into consideration. So if in other areas we're going to end up with standees and pass-ups, we will have to consider that first before we address a route that still has capacity. Hope that helps.
Well, not really, because the FF1 basically, because the FF1 and the FF4 are different routes, it's at least a 25-minute additional walk to get to the bus stop in the morning. And then there's the transfer when I get to Union Station, and then vice versa coming home. So will I continue with the FF1? I'm almost forced to do so, as I do not own a car like many of the people who rely on RTD. So, but I will, you know, look at other options, maybe buying a car, just due to the additional time.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comment. I'm going to go to 2455. Are you there? Okay. If you're there, we're having a hard time hearing you. I will move on and we'll come back to you in a bit. Again, if you have a question and you're on the phone, go ahead and hit *6 to unmute, and I will look for your number and call you. Don't see any others. Let me see if there's something in the chat that we haven't addressed. I see a lot of comments about the FF4, the R line to Ridgegate. Don't see, is anybody else seeing anything I should read out here? Okay, looks like I'll go back to the hands and see if we have some hands up. Sorry, bear with me, I gotta change screens here. Stephen, did you have another question? Stephen Albers.
No, I should lower my hand now. Thank you.
Okay, sometimes people have follow-up questions, so I wanted to make sure. I'm going to try 2455 again, see if we can hear you. Okay, we're not hearing you. If you have a comment, I suggest you can certainly use the other methods, the phone number, the email that we provided, and reach us that way. I'm sorry, I don't know why we're having technical issues, but we are. I'll come back and try you again after a bit. I've got Elaine Herb with her hand up right now. Elaine, did you have a comment? It looks like you're on mute. I don't know why we're having so.
It was taking a moment to unmute.
Oh,
Sorry.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed on some routes, including the Bolt, that what your comment was that there would be increased frequency during rush hour, but it's not stated. So like there were some runs over a year ago where there were 5 buses where there's 1 now. So, you know, what times is that? Will you run that between like 5 and 9 a.m.? and from 3 to at least 6 or maybe 7 p.m. for the evening? So what are you defining as rush hour?
That is still the rush hour definition at this point, as per our service standards and what we have in place. But that might change, obviously, as things might change when people go back to office. But looking at some of the comments, it sounds like a lot of folks are going to be back in office 8 to 5, and we will continue to have a rush hour peak in the AM and PM, similar to the times we've had before.
Okay, I just think it would really help if you were being more, because some routes it looked like you were specific about the times for those changes, but on, say, the Bolt, I'm just having to assume what rush hour is to you.
Again, Elaine, the rush hour is basically what it always has been, roughly between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That has not changed.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We did get a comment here or a question in the chat. Will there be another proposed service change before the normal 3 months? I believe that we have another one planned in January, but I'll let you all jump in.
Traditionally, the next one would be in January. Any service change that would happen before that would require coordination with the union to see if they would approve a different service change.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else on the phone? I'm going to try 2455 one more time. 2455. Okay. What about 6381?
Yes, I have 2 questions on service in Southeast Denver. The first is the Route 46. The original route used to go on Dahlia and Happy Canyon to Monaco and to the Tech Center. That was abandoned last year. And also Route 35. Can you comment on those, please?
Is Jeff Dunning on the phone or on the call? I see that we have the, yeah. Dunning?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we did change on a permanent basis. Route 46 was merged with the remaining segment of Route 27. So that won't be changing, but we will be improving its span of service starting in September. We hope to bring back the Route 35 on Hamden as soon as possible, but that's not part of the September service change. As we've mentioned, our operator shortage has constrained what we can do, but it's definitely on our list to reinstate that as soon as possible. We apologize for the inconvenience in the meantime.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Zachary.
Hello. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this. My question is more about late night and night owl service. Has there been consideration of improving or reinstating some of the service back into the schedule, either during the next schedule change or even for January?
Do you have a route in particular?
Some of the light rail service and some of the bus route service from Union Station, like the 0, the 15.
Okay, we are considering adding an additional trip late night on the E-line. Mostly the ridership still has been pretty low for light rail in particular. However, they do add trips ad hoc for events to help people who would take the train to get to those events to get back to their cars later in the day. They help supplement the service after our service span ends.
Okay, that helps. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go back to, I think I saw a phone question, 6381.
Yes, I'm here. I just asked the question before.
Okay, did you have another one?
No thanks.
Okay, all right, well, let me go to 9521.
Sorry, that's just Jeff Dunning.
Hey, Jeff. Okay. Looks like I don't see any other phone ones. 9521, was that Jeff? Okay. Let me see. Any other hands? No other hands. And is there anything in the chat here we need to address here? No, there's a lot of GS and FF, and definitely we'll take that information with us. Is there anything else? Anybody else have any other questions? Let me go back to our screen here. Wharton or Riley? I'm sorry, Riley.
Hi. So I live on the, can you hear me by the way? Okay, so I live relatively close to the new bus station right next to Southwest Plaza. That's next to the new apartment complex, which has access to the 76 and the 99, but not necessarily the 59. I was asking this question because I was wondering if there were plans to either improve the flex ride service because I live like within a 20-minute walk instead of like a 10 or 5-minute walk, to improve flex ride service east to Littleton Downtown Station, which is next to ACC, or if there is a plan to add the taxi service during the day to ACC, or I guess Littleton Downtown. I understand that resources are limited, but I'm just curious.
Thanks for calling, Riley. As of now, I don't believe, now I'm not part of the Flex Ride area, but I am on the West team. And I don't believe that we are expanding any of our Flex Ride in that area at this time. What difficulty are you having getting down to Littleton Station, if I may ask?
I haven't really had that many difficulties. I was just curious because I figured that since there used to be 30-minute service leaving from Littleton downtown without having to book service previously, before the pandemic, I was wondering if that would be back, though since I haven't used FlexRide in a while, mostly because I never really had any good reason to leave home, and soon I will. I was just wondering if that was a possibility.
Okay, well, at this time, I don't know of any plans for increases. As I'm sure you've heard throughout this call, there's a lot of areas that don't have any service at all. And I'm trying my best to bring back the service to those places before increasing frequency on routes that do have some service.
All right, that's understandable. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have a question about the MLB AllStar Weekend. Don't know if anybody wants to jump in. We have been coordinating with the city and other agencies, but does anyone want to jump in on what's planned, if we'll be doing anything around that?
We will be increasing the train sizes for the All-Star Weekend. Most of the events are all spread out throughout the day. So it's not like our traditional Coors Field events where everybody shows up at one time and then they leave at one time. So we're just going to increase the size of the trains and potentially add takeaway, what we call takeaway service, additional trips if the game ends after our normal service span ends.
Do we have anything planned on Mall Ride that week? Any changes to that?
I believe Tim is planning to add buses if he can find the operators willing to operate additional time.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I see that in the chat. Let me see if there's anything else here. Thank you all for these questions and comments. These are great. I'm not seeing any other raised hands. Colleagues, if you see something I'm missing, let me know. And I'm not seeing anyone unmuted on the phone. So any other questions? We still have a few minutes. Make sure, or comments. All right.
I think while we're waiting, we can invite some of our board members to comment if they'd like.
Anyone have if you want to raise your hand, I can introduce you or I can call you out. All right. I see we have Director Catlin, Director Deschelle. Anybody? And Director Sloan. All right. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Director Cook too. I'm sorry. I feel going through this list. My apologies. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? Oh, Director Catlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I've had a number of constituents who have called me about the 116X, and I think it's good to know that it will be making an interim stop at the Federal Center station. Some of them asked if it would be the same route, so that's good to know. But I'm assuming it still does go down to Civic Center Station. Okay,
Right,
I'm seeing
sure.
Tegan nodding her head. But I know that there are, even though I haven't seen a lot of comments from them, I know that there are a number of folks who are really anxious to see that reinstated as their employers bring back work in the downtown area, and they will be starting their commute. So thank you very much.
And just to further answer your question, it looks as if the stop-in at Federal Center Station will be adding about 8 minutes per trip. If anyone asks you that, Director Catlin.
Good to know. Thanks, Daniel.
Sure thing.
Okay, and Director Deschelle's having some technical problems, but you can see in the chat he thanks you all for attending, and Director Sloan also thanks you all. So we have, and Director Cook, did you have anything you'd like to add?
You know, I was just typing in to echo the other board members. It's really helpful to get this thoughtful input. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time.
All right, well, thank you. I'm gonna just look and just make sure we got everyone. And anything else from the team?
I will just make one more plug for anyone who joined in late. We do have a telephone town hall this Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. And that information can be found on our website, rtd-denver.com/town hall. So the telephone town hall that we will be hosting will be actually hosted by our general manager and CEO, Deborah Johnson, and staff, and they'll be talking about the FAIR study that we're undertaking and the equity analysis, which if you are interested in talking about or giving your input about our fairs, how they're working for you or what could use improvements, that is a good place for you to join the conversation and add your comments. So again, that's 6 p.m. this Wednesday, and it is our telephone town hall. You can find the information on our website.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.